Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Culture Clash on the Pryce Podcast. It's Jonathan here coming at you from Loganville, Georgia. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most transformative and contentious, however you want to say it, social movements of the modern era, feminism. This is not a cheerleading session, 100%. I'm not cheering for it whatsoever. Nor is it a simple takedown, because we are taking it down. We're here to clash ideas honestly and rigorously. What has feminism truly achieved in expanding human freedom and opportunity? Where has it succeeded brilliantly? Where has it created new tensions, overlooked important nuances, or produced unintended consequences that deserve serious examination? Over the next hour, we will trace its historical waves, celebrate concrete gains, examine its core philosophical variations, confront the latest data on gender realities in 2026, explore criticisms from diverse perspectives, and consider the broader implications for families, workplaces, relationships, and individual well being in our rapidly changing world. At its foundation, feminism advocates for women's social, economic, and political equity with men, or equality, sorry, with men. Yet, the meaning of equality remains deeply contested. Does it mean equality of opportunity under the law? Equality of outcomes regardless of choices? Or equal treatment that fully accounts for biological, physiological, and cultural differences between the sexes? Who knows? We'll examine liberal approaches that work within existing systems, radical views that see patriarchy as the central structure of oppression. That one I honestly don't get. Intersectional frameworks that layer gender with race and chaos, and skeptical perspectives that question whether some modern demands align with empirical realities or human flourishing. Buckle up. This is a thorough, multi angle exploration without slogans or sacred cows. Let's begin. Feminism did not appear in a vacuum. It emerged in response to genuine legal and social restrictions placed on women in Western societies for centuries. The first wave, spanning roughly between 1848 to 1920, big long year, 80 years, oh, give or take, focused on basic legal personhood and political rights, especially the right to vote. Then landmark, sorry, ooh, then landmark 1848 Sakina Falls Convention in New York produced the Declaration of Sentiments, deliberately modeled on the Declaration of Independence. Elizabeth Cady Stanton Lucreta Mott, sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, sorry, and their allies demanded not only suffrage but also property rights, access to education, and fairer divorce laws, which we've seen the outcome of it. Notably, notably, they found support from figures like Frederick Douglass, showing early alliances across causes. By 1920, the 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution granted women the right to vote, a profound expansion of democratic participation. Parallel suffrage battles in Britain involved militant suffragettes like Emma Pankhurst, who used civil disobedience to force change. These victories were concrete and enduring, removing formal barriers that had treated women as legal extensions of their husbands. Yet, even here, nuances and tensions existed. Some early leaders clashed over priorities, particularly around race and class. The movement sometimes prioritized white women's voting rights, and amid ongoing debates about abolitionists. Can't why can I send it abolition abolitionist abolitionist. Oh my gosh! I think we might just skip that word for now. I can't really talk. Hold on, let me drink some water. See if that works. Some good water. Don't forget to drink your water, guys. We're made up of 75% of it. Might as well go ahead and drink it. Abolitionist. There we go. See, water works. Abolitionist, revealing that unity was never absolute. The second wave, from the 1960s to the 1980s, dramatically broadened the scope. Betty Friedan's 1963 book, The Feminist Mystique, powerfully critiqued the post war suburban domestic ideal is psychologically shifting or stifling for educated women. This era drove workplace anti discrimination laws, expanded reproductive rights, including widespread access to birth control, and the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. Title IX in 1972, which opened educational and athletic opportunities and greater public awareness of domestic violence. Organizations like the National Organization for Women mobilized effectively. This result was a sharp pause. Earlier work, The Second Sex, influenced many by arguing that womanhood is largely socially constructed rather than purely biological. However, this wave also faced eternal critiques. It often accused of centering the experiences of middle class white women while marginalizing black women, working class women, and other who formed their own parallel advocacy groups. The movement's emphasis on individual liberation sometimes downplayed the value many women still placed on family roles. The third wave, emerging in the 1990s and extending into the 2010s, reacted against what some say as the rigidity of the previous generation. Rebecca Walker popularized the term in 1972 during the Antia Hills hearings. It embraced individualism, reclaimed aspects of femininity on personal terms through girl power, and cultural expressions like riot girl, music, and signs. Weird. And introduced intersectionality, a framework from legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw that examines how gender intersects with race, class, sexuality, and other identities. This wave broadened the inclusion of the LGBTQ plus concerns and challenged traditional beauty standards, but also led to greater fragmentation, with fewer unified policy goals and more emphasis on personal narrative. The fourth wave, Dominance from the 2010s and onward. So we're still in it. And still shaping the discourse here in 2026 is intensely digital and increasingly global. Hashtags like hashtag MeToo in 2017 exposed widespread sexual harassment and assault across industries, empowering countless victims to speak out. It emphasizes body positivity, which honestly, in my personal opinion, yes, be positive about your body, but if you're fat, you're fat. Sorry, not really, but you get, you know how it is. Anywho, I am going to get a lot of comments about that. And honestly, sweet. Um, greater inclusion of transgender identities and gender discussions, online mobilization, ongoing fights over reproductive access following the 2022 Dobbs decision. Globally, it highlights issues like child marriages and gender based violence in non Western contexts, though Western voices and frameworks often dominate the conversation. Achievements across all waves include dramatic rises in female literacy, educational attainment that now frequently surpasses men in many countries, and the dismantling of most explicit legal barriers to property ownership, voting, and professional entry. Recent UN reports indicate that nearly 100 countries have repealed significant discriminatory laws in recent decades. These are real, measurable advances in opportunities. Yet, as we'll explore, progress in one area has sometimes coincided with new challenges in others, and the measurement of success remains contested. Feminism has never been a single ideology. Liberal feminism generally seeks equal legal and economic opportunity within liberal democratic systems, focusing on removing barriers so women can compete on merit. Radical feminism, by contrast, identifies patriarchy as the fundamental system of oppression and often critiques marriage, the nuclear family, and traditional gender roles as mechanisms of control. Marxist and socialist strands connect, Marxist and socialist strands traditional gender or connect gender inequality to class exploitation. Wow, take. Viewing unpaid domestic labor as hidden subsidy to capitalism. What? That don't make sense. But here we are. Intersectional approaches stress how disadvantages compound, for instance, how black women may face both racial and gender biases simultaneously. Difference feminism argues that certain traditionally female associated traits, such as nurturing and relational skills, should be valued and rewarded rather than erased in pursuit of complete sameness. What is your take on that one? Honestly, I think it's weird. Sameness is not, no, that can't happen. Can't happen. Anywho, turning to contemporary data in 2026 reveals a complex, often contradictory picture. In education, women continue to outperform men in high school completion and college enrollment rates across much of the developed world. In leadership, women now hold approximately 20 to 30% of parliamentary seats globally and similar shares in corporate management roles. Clear progress from earlier decades, though advancement remains gradual despite various quota systems in some nations. The pay gap, the gender pay gap continues to spark debate. Raw, unadjusted figures show women earning roughly 81 to 85 cents for every dollar men earn in the United States, depending on the exact data set. But after controlling for factors like occupation, hours worked, experience, career interruptions, and education, the gap narrows significantly, but does not disappear entirely. I believe it's like last time I saw it was like 99 cents to the dollar. So it's just like recent analysis put a controlled hourly gap around 18.6% in 2025, with some widening observed that year due to broader economic shifts. Importantly, choices play a major role. Women more frequently select flexible, people oriented fields or opt for career breaks related to motherhood, while men dominate high risk, higher variance, and physically demanding roles that command, command premium pay. Motherhood itself widens observed gaps due to time away from the workforce, sorry, and intersections matter. Black women face larger raw disparities compared to white male earners. Unpaid care work remains one of the most persistent structural factors. Globally, women perform roughly 2.5 times more hours of unpaid domestic and caregiving labor than men, which, I mean, they do get pregnant, they take care of a child. So it's that's a given, I guess. With estimates with estimates showing that unpaid care responsibilities keep approximately 708 million women out of the formal labor force, compared to only 40 million men. Women and girls collectively perform around 16 billion hours of unpaid care every single day. This imbalance limits paid work opportunities and contributes to lifetime earning differences, though cultural norms, personal preferences, and policy incentives all influence who shoulders this load. And just a quick take from me personally. Um, Men do a lot. Oh, they work a lot more. They work a lot more physical, very physical, demanding jobs that women physically cannot perform. I'm sorry, but it's true. More women, like I said before, they tend to go with flexible, relational, people oriented jobs, or opt in careers that have extended breaks. Men don't get that option. You know, when men are about to have a kid, they say, "Oh, I have to work more." When women say, "Oh, I'm about to have a kid, I can't work as much." Biology plays a huge role in all of this, and that's why the gender pay gap is kind of just miscued, I would say. Yeah, miscued. And there's a lot of variables you have to control. And like I said before, last time I heard, the gender pay gap is only about controlled with all those variables. The controlled gender pay gap is 99 cents to, like, women earn 99 cents to a men's dollar. Yeah, to me, that's not no gap whatsoever. Anywho, other realities include higher reported rates of depression and anxiety among women, alongside serious issues like intimate partner violence, affecting roughly 1 in 3 women over a lifetime. In STEM fields, women comprise about 28 to 35% of the workforce, depending on the region and exact definition, with even lower representation in engineering and computer science, despite making up around 35 to 50% of graduates in broader science fields. This unrepresentation raises ongoing questions about the relative weight of interest and preferences versus remaining barriers. In female dominated professions like teaching and nursing, Men sometimes experience a glass escalator effect, advancing faster into leadership. Reproductive rights remain deeply divisive, balancing women's autonomy against other ethical considerations around potential life. Globally, progress is uneven. While Western nations have largely removed formal barriers, regression occurs in places like Afghanistan, and conservative cultural contexts continue to limit options in many regions. These patterns reflect a mix of voluntary trade offs, lingering biases, biological and physiological average differences, such as sex differences in personality traits like agreeableness or interest, and cultural influences. Feminism can rightly claim credit for opening doors that were once closed. The data also suggests that biology, psychology, and freely made choices continue to shape divergent outcomes in important ways. Now, any serious examination must grapple must grapple sorry, I lost my place. Must grapple with criticisms leveled at feminism from multiple directions. Supporters rightly highlight how it dismantled unjust legal barriers, brought women talents into the economy, increased innovation, and fostered greater empathy around issues like violence and harassment. But at the same time, critics from traditional classical liberal and even some feminist perspectives argue that certain strands have devalued motherhood and family life, contributing to higher divorce rates, delayed or foregone childbearing, and sharply declining fertility in developed nations. And we see that here in 2026. The fertility rates sit well below the 2.1% replacement level across most OECD countries, often at 1.3 to 1.6 children per woman in places like the US, Europe, and East Asia. Come on, guys. That's why in most families, I believe you need to have at the very least, two kids. Because you got a mom and a dad come together, all right? That's two people. Now, if you think about this like a family, how do I say this? If you think about this like this way, right? Mom, dad, come together, if they only have one kid, right? Well, that two went to one. Then obviously they find somebody to marry, get married together. That two also went back down to one. Eventually, the population is going to be so small it cannot sustain itself. Just like Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is 40 million compared to Gen Z at 80 million. And millennials around the same thing. So basically, what I'm trying to say is our population should be around the same, or at least half times as bigger as the other one. So Gen Alpha should be at 120 million, at the very least. From that calculations and everything, doing all the math, it should at the very least be 120 million Gen Alphas compared to the 80 million Gen Z. Now, obviously, we have those areas which at least stay around then, basically, right? Around 80 to 120 million, but it's 40 million Gen Alpha. That's terrible for the economy. When Gen Alpha becomes 16, be able to have a working age, a lot of businesses are going to go out to business because there's literally no population. The population is not big enough to facilitate all of that. We're going to see a huge, huge, huge crash. It's not going to be fun either. It won't be fun at all. But pray that God makes a way for us. Anywho, the critique the critique holds that framing domestic roles primarily as oppression discourage complementary partnerships and mutual support within families, sometimes leading to greater instability for children. And you guys have to think about it. It's really the children, man. Think about the children. Come on now. Longitudinal data consistently shows that children raised in stable two parent households tend to have better average outcomes across education, emotional health, and economic mobility. Though causation is complex and poverty or selection effects also play roles, generally speaking, it's much better for the two parent household, the traditional family household, the nuclear family outperforms single parent homes. Just to give you guys a little thing, you know, yeah. The push for strict outcome equality through quotas or mandates, regardless of differing interest or variance in traits, can undermine merits, breed reassessment, and ignore well documented average psychological differences between the sexes, such as such as greater male variability in cognitive and risk related traits. Scholars like Christina Hoff Sommers have distinguished equity feminism, which seeks fair roles and opportunity, from versions of gender feminism that treats society as an inherent zero sum conflict between men and women, completely um, something. All right, I'll say that. I will say that. In relationships and marriages, elevated expectations combined with reduced emphasis on complementary have coincided with reports of lower marital satisfaction in some surveys. Men's issues including higher suicide rates, workplace fatalities, educational disengagement, and biases in family court custody decisions have sometimes been downplayed or framed solely as remnants of patriarchy rather than areas needing balanced attention. Concepts like toxic masculinity can pathologize. Oh my gosh. You know what? Pathologize. Ooh, man. After you drink water, I could just say these words and it's pathologize ordinary male behaviors while equivalent scrutiny of potential downsides in female patterns. Intersectionality offers valuable insights into overlapping disadvantages, but has drawn criticism for sometimes ranking victimhood hierarchies, fragmenting coalitions, or applying cultural relativism that excuses serious issues like honor based violence in certain non Western contexts. The online dynamics of the fourth wave have amplified important voices, but also risk rapid cancellation over nuanced disagreements. Witness intense debates around sex based rights in sports, prison, and shelters when biological males identify as women. The #MeToo movement empowers survivors as prompted necessary accountability. Yet it also surfaced legitimate concerns about due process and the potential for false or exaggerated accusations in high stakes environments. Unintended consequences extend further. Despite objective gains in education, legal rights, and workforce access, some legal term studies document a paradox of declining female happiness. Women's reported subjective well being has fallen both absolutely and relative to men's since the 1970s in many industrialized nations, even as opportunities expanded. Recent research continues to explore this, noting higher rates of negative effect and mental health challenges among women alongside sometimes higher life satisfaction scores in evaluate measures. Pressures of having it all, career, family, and personal fulfillment, without adequate cultural or policy support for trade offs appear to play a role. In highly egalitarian societies like Nordic countries, occupational gender segregation remains pronounced, suggesting that preferences and interests exert strong influence even when external barriers are minimized. Not all feminists discuss biology or pits the sexes against each other. Many voices advocate for genuine partnership and mutual respect. Global feminism has adapted by addressing region specific harms like female genital mutilation or forced marriage. Still, the cultural shift has reshaped media, language, corporate policies, and society and social norms in ways that promote agency for some, while fostering division or victim oriented narratives that undermine personal resilience for others. Stepping back, stepping back, feminism has intersected with broader movements for civil rights, technological change, and globalization, unlocking human capital and driving innovation in countless fields. Yet, it has also contributed to polarization in ongoing cultural wars, where the label itself became a tribal signal more than a precise policy framework. In 2026, with artificial intelligence transforming the job markets, potentially affecting roles where women are concentrated differently than men, and with shifting global demographics due to low fertility, these questions grow more urgent. Key edge cases demand careful thought. Should single sex spaces in sports, shelters, or prisons prioritize biological self or self-identified gender? Biological sex, 100%. Not even a question. How should parental leave policies be designed to avoid reinforcing or artificially challenging traditional divisions of labor? Honestly, less government, the better. Let the parents decide how they want to raise their kids. Just saying. In a developing world, should Western feminist models be exported wholesome, or do locally adapted approaches better respect cultural context without sacrificing core rights? Related considerations include the importance of individual variation over group averages. Policies work best when they expand genuine choice rather than enforce statistical par- parity. Evidence based approaches. Drawing from longitudinal studies on child development, mental health trends, and happiness metrics, offer a stronger path forward than ideological purity. Complementary efforts to address male specific challenges like educational underperformance or fatherlessness, which is seriously something that needs to be tackled, needs to be attacked. Made a lot of videos about it. Go back on my channel, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're on, go on there. You can listen to it all. It is fatherlessness is actually a cancer. So, real quick to the guys, don't be a pussy. Sorry for my language, but don't stop being a pussy. You got the girl knocked up. You better honor her. You better take care of her and that child she bring him. Because guess what? That's half of you. So stop being a sorry for my language. Stop being a bitch, okay? Anywho, complementary efforts to address the male specific challenges like educational underperformance or fatherlessness need to compete with women's gains. Weird. They can support overall societal cohesion. True long term progress should be measured by flourishing for both sexes and for children. I'll say it again. True long term progress should be measured by flourishing for both male and female and for children. Can't emphasize that enough. Greater opportunities for women without eroding responsibilities, contributions, or well being of men or the stability of the family that form the foundation of thriving communities. Come on now. Feminism delivered meaningful expansions of liberty and capability in crucial domains. Sustaining and refining that legacy requires grappling honestly with the trade offs, prioritizing data over dogma, and fostering dialogue that bridges differences rather than deepening them. That wraps our thorough exploration of feminism on the Culture Clash. We've covered its historical waves and achievements, the variations in thoughts, the latest data with all its nuances, the criticisms and unintended consequences, and the broader implications for our shared future. This topic is layered and deserves exactly this kind of multi angle examination. If this live, whether you guys watch it live or you're watching it later, if this sparked new reflections, challenged an assumption, or reinforced something you've already believed, put your thoughtful takes in the comments. What aspect landed most strongly with you? What should we tackle next on the Culture Clash? Thank you for spending this hour with me. I'm Jonathan Pryce on the Pryce Podcast. Stay curious, seek truth, and keep clashing ideas in good faith. Good faith, not bad faith. Subscribe if you're new. Share this episode if this added value to you and you want to add that same value to other people, and like the video. I'll see you guys next time. Keep seeking the kingdom. God bless. This has been the Pryce Podcast. Peace.